before we start, I am on the road to 100 subscribers, trying to get affiliate. I don't know if that's what it's called on YouTube. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers so I can start actually doing YouTube, maybe even full time eventually. So if you guys like this video, please subscribe. And let's hop right in. Hello everybody, Creeping Creeper 22 here. In today's video, we're gonna do something a little very much different. I'm gonna rant about a game that I like a lot, which you guys probably already tell from the title is gonna be Dead by Daylight. I want to talk specifically about the current state of Dead by Daylight. And I know a lot of people have been doing this recently, but why not? I'm gonna be honest. It's a game that I'm very in love with. They just added Springtrap, which of course I'm gonna play him, a Five Nights at Freddy's guy. So, and I don't want to see it go into ruin. So I'm gonna put my opinion out there. Now, this is where I'm probably gonna make some survivors mad. But honestly, I really don't get why they're trying to make survivors or the survivor role so easy. It just doesn't really make sense, especially in the current state we're in, where we have survivors being able to do gen super fast, survivors being able to heal super fast. Like, survivors are getting all of these buffs, but then we're trying to make them stronger while also making killer way weaker. And so, to be fair, I'm gonna start on the survivor point of view, as someone that does play survivor and killer, but mainly killer, but I do play survivor. I can understand from the survivor's point of view when you're going up against Nurse, Kaneki, Blight, like you're going up against these S tier killers over and over and over and over again, because I'm gonna be honest, killers want to win. And when killers are getting nerfed time and time again, whether that's universally nerfed, meaning they're not nerfing one killer specifically, but they're adding stuff that nerfs a whole bunch of killers, or when they do nerf specific killers, like in the PTB, they nerfed freaking what's his name? He got blocked Pinhead. They nerfed Pinhead, and it's like, why are we nerfing people that don't need nerfs? Honestly, I just don't get it. In my honest opinion, as someone that has only 900 hours but does play both sides, I think all survivors really need genuinely is a better tutorial. I think genuinely all survivors really need is the ability to learn without having to go to a specific YouTuber. To me, they should be able to learn what every killer does pretty well from watching, or like from the game itself, from whether that's the game showing them through a video, showing them through, like, I don't know, just a description, because the descriptions honestly aren't really that good, I'm gonna be honest. To me, survivors just need to be able to really understand what each killer does. They need like a tutorial on how long they can be on the hook, like different strategies. They need to be taught different strategies. And honestly, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about like a beginner mode, like where they play with people that are just hopping in. In my opinion, that's perfect. But my main thing to me is we need to make the difference between survivor with friends and solo queue less. We need to make it to where if you're playing survivor with friends, it won't be too much more different than playing with solo queue. That's what we need, in my opinion, for survivors. And we need way more tutorials to show them, hey, you don't have to take someone off the hook immediately. Hey, this is the exact time it'll take you to do a generator. Just all these important little details that they do not have in the game. Okay, I feel like in survivors know, for example, okay, it takes me 90 seconds to do the generator by myself. This person just got on hook and it takes, I think, 70 seconds for them. It, to me, just allows them to have a way better, a way more better understanding of the game, which then will allow them to be better at the survivor role. Now, I'm gonna stick to survivor, but it's gonna be more negative on the survivor behalf, and I'm sorry, but I gotta do it. A lot of survivors are just, they're not meant for this type of game, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I play Springtrap. For clarification, I main Springtrap, about a low B to high C tier killer. And there are so many times where I'm just playing and I'm not even doing anything crazy. Half the time I might be losing, and I'll hit a nice shot on a survivor. I'll hit an orbital on a survivor, and guess what? They DC. Or within the first 30 seconds, I get it down, they DC. To me, it's like, it seems like behavior is trying to help survivors that are like that, but to me, there's no helping them. How do you help someone that when the killer hits a nice shot, they're like, oh, well, I'm leaving. Or when they get down within the first 20 seconds, they're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm leaving. You can't help them. There's no way to possibly get them to stop being like that, in my opinion. They have to do that on their own. They have to want to get better, or they have to want to decide to stop quitting all the time. Now I'm talking about the slugging and the camping measurements they're trying to do. I'm gonna start off by saying right off the bat, I don't think we need any sort of slugging thing measurement. I don't think we need any camping measurement. I'm gonna be honest with you, because slugging and camping are strategies, but they're strategies that only work in certain circumstances. And half the time, those for the circumstances to work that those work the best on, the survivors have to be making mistakes. And what I mean by that is tunneling. If the killer is tunneling someone, you leave them on hook, which is why I say they need to be taught this stuff. You leave them on hook for a while, get generated done, unhook them. You know, you can even have someone take some hits for them, and then everybody else is still on gens. And I say that to say there's ways to counter this stuff. There's ways where, yeah, sadly, that person that did get tunneled might lose or might die. Because to me, if you get tunneled, but your teammates leave, you're not losing. If 3 people leave because of you, you're not losing. It's just that this game doesn't have a good way of showing that, oh, yeah, you died and that sucked, but guess what? Because you got tunneled, those 3 got to leave. They don't have a good way of showing that. And I can understand from a survivor point of view that, oh yeah, they did all 3 get a lead, but I got tunneled. I got off the hook and I immediately got chased every time. So you can understand why that's not satisfying. And to me, that's the game's problem. They need to be able to show survivors that escaping doesn't necessarily mean winning all the time. Okay, sorry, went off topic a little bit. So I know that I said tunneling and camping shouldn't really be a thing. Or sorry, tunneling and camping prevention measurements shouldn't be a thing. Yeah, because there's just, as I said, there are ways for the survivors themselves to prevent stuff like that from happening. The biggest issue is that they're not taught that. And that is 100% on behavior's fault for not teaching them ways to counteract this. I'm be honest, I just don't get it. Why, instead of making all these changes, why one of the first thing behavior do be like, okay, let's make sure that everybody understands how this game works, and then let's start making changes. And what I mean by that is, that's why I say make the difference between survivor with friends and solo queue less, because then you don't have to do buffs and nerfs on things based on, oh well, survivor with friends will take advantage of this, and solo queue won't really get that much value from it. If you make survivor with friends and solo queue more in the middle or more together, meaning if you're playing survivor with friends, you still have a lot of the stuff that's if you're playing solo queue, you still have the same chances of getting out than a survivor with friend group have. Meaning, if you give them proximity chat, if you give a proximity chat for survivors, now they can communicate. Now that is something that survivor with friends have that now solo queue has. I don't know why they don't do that. And I see they're trying to do stuff like, now you can see certain meter, like you see the meter filling up when they're on the hook and the killer is camping. You see all this stuff, but just add a voice chat, dude. To me, proximity chat would be the best, but if you're just add voice chat, because you just need to make that difference between survivor with friends and solo queue. You need to make that go away so that you can change things more consistently and without having to think about so much. You can't because if you make a change, now you have to think about, okay, how will survivor with friends take advantage of this compared to solo queue? That goes away, which to me will make this game so much easier to update. Another thing I want to say, I'm sorry, this is my first time ever doing one of these, so it's going to be pretty choppy, so just work with me here. I might have to make more of these, we'll see. But something that I hope survivors eventually realize is, I understand that going up against Nurse, Blight, Kaneki, like these S tier, A tier killers can be really annoying. But that's not, I might be wrong, but that's not majority of killers. You have killers that want to play Ghostface. You have killers that want to play Trapper, Wraith. So when you're sitting here saying, oh, killer's so broken, at least in my opinion, a lot of time when survivors say killer is so OP or like it's way more kill sided, it's like, no, only the top tier killers are killer sided. Only certain things are killer sided with the top tier killers. If they're B or below, it's like half of your guys, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, so let me know down in the comments, half of the survivor opinions on why stuff's killer sided or points as to why it's killer sided only work with S and A tier killers, which majority of killers are B and lower. So it's like, how do you argue? Because survivors aren't wrong when they say that certain things are overpowered, but it's only overpowered with like a couple killers. So it's like, you're not wrong, but you're not right at the same time. And that is something that I just hope survivors can realize, because I do get going against freaking Ghoul is annoying, because I went up against him. Going up against Nurse is annoying. Blight, I get it. I 100% get it. But Blight isn't Springtrap. Blight isn't Trapper. Spirit isn't, Spirit. We're gonna say Spirit. Spirit isn't Huntress. You know what I mean? So like, you have to realize that when you're saying that certain things are OP, realize that there are a ton of killers. So some of your guys' points only apply to some killers. Okay, now I'm talking about killers and what I think they need to do for killers. One, kind of the same as Survivor with Friends and Solo Queue. I need behavior to bring the low tier killers and bring them up. Start buffing these low tier killers instead of worrying about freaking these, instead of worrying about this dumb stuff like slugging, tunneling, and all this. Bring up these low tier killers. Why are we having, like, okay, to me, we really should not be having F or D tier killers. All things that are F or D tier need to be moved up, and even C tiers probably need a little tweak, in my opinion. I could be wrong, and let me know in the comments if you would disagree. But these low tier killers, we need to get pushed up so that how do I say this? I'm trying to think of the right word, because the biggest issue is a lot of the changes that are being made hurt low tier killers. In the new PTB, they made it to where you get Bloodlust instead of haste, because they said that the higher tier killers won't be able to use it as much, because it if you don't know, Bloodlust, when you use your power, it takes it away, so you lose that 5% speed bonus when you use your power. Here's the problem: as a Springtrap main, here's how Springtrap works. Anytime you hook someone, if you have your axe, you throw your axe because you move faster without the axe. But guess what? If you throw your axe, you lose the Bloodlust. So it's really a lose-lose. You either throw your axe and get the speed boost, but then you lose the haste, or you keep your axe and you get the Bloodlust movement speed. If I'm not mistaken, they might be the same, but that's the point. Springtrap isn't getting anything. Because if he throws the axe, he loses the Bloodlust, but he's still moving 5% faster. Or he keeps the axe and he's moving 5% faster. It's like, it doesn't make a difference. Springtrap doesn't gain anything from this. Ghostface doesn't gain anything from this. Trapper, because if he sets down a trap, he loses it. Ghostface, if he tried to go undetectable, he loses it. So it's like a lot of these low tier killers aren't getting any value from the one thing that killers get from this. And I'm like, okay, how about instead of us trying to do this like, you guys get Bloodlust, you guys get this every time you guys hook someone good or hook someone different, just boost up the lower tier killers so that, just like I said, with Survivor with Friends and Solo Queue, bring them more closer together, bring the lower tier killers and the higher tier killers and bring them more closer together. Yes, nerf the higher tier. Oh my God, can I think tier? Lower the higher tier killers and bring up, wait, did I say that right? Yeah. Lower the higher tier killers and bring up the lower tier killers so that they're more comparable. I just don't get why we're trying to make all these base kit changes, trying to make so many perks base kit and try to do all this, when to me, let's teach people how to play the game within the game. Let's make the game not so different no matter how you're playing, meaning once again Survivor with Friends, Solo Queue. If you're deciding to play Ghostface compared to Nurse, let's try to make everything closer together, see how it looks, and then make changes. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a tangent right now. This is my second time trying to do it. Let's hope this works. Okay. We're supposed to get we're supposed to get a new killer and 2 survivors this month. We are not getting them until January because they're supposed to fix the health of the game. Instead of adding a better tutorial for survivors, instead of adding better communication with survivors, meaning survivors are able to communicate better with each other, instead of buffing killers, they buffed Michael Myers, so I'll give them that. Let me not say they didn't buff killers, but they buffed 1 killer when we have a lot that need to be buffed. They might be buffing Skull Merchant, so you know what I mean. So I'll give them that. They buffed 2 killers, Myers and Skull Merchant, which is great. Good job. But we have a lot more that need to be buffed. And so in my opinion, instead of putting effort into this anti-hook, anti-slug, anti-tunnel, instead of putting effort into that, put effort into this stuff, into a tutorial, into a better, less of a difference between solo queue and Swifts, bringing more of these low tier killers up. Why are we not doing this, the stuff that the community will 1,000,000% appreciate? Why are we not doing that? Because yes, would killers get mad if you added a proximity chat to Survivor with friends? With solo queue. If you had a proximity chat in general, would some killers get mad? Yes, but to counteract that, what you do is you buff more killers. You buff a lot of these low tier killers like Ghostface. You buff them, you bring them up while you're also buffing survivors, but you're not buffing survivors in a unfair way, in my opinion, because the way you're buffing them is by allowing everybody to do what only a specific group of survivors can't do. You know what I mean? Just like killer. Instead of making it to where only top tier killers can run no perks and win, hey, we're gonna bring some of these low tier killers up so that, you know what, they can win a lot more often, but not because they're S tier, but because now this D tier killer is now B tier. This F tier killer is now high C tier. You get what I'm saying? Like, both sides need help, but it really just seems like they're only trying to help one side, which is Survivor, and they're helping them in the worst way possible. Because all they're doing, in my opinion, are telling in the nicest way, the very, very childish survivors that they're right. They're not telling the survivors that freaking loop the killer for 3 gen and then gets hooked. They're not telling them, oh yeah, good job. What you're telling them is, you shouldn't have to do that, in my opinion. That's how I feel like to me. You shouldn't have to struggle that much. Instead of telling them, good job. You looped, as I said, to me, you looped the killer for 1 gen. Good job. That's like perfect. And even for me, when I play Survivor, if I loop the killer for 2 gen and get hooked, I'm fine with that. It's not all about generators, but that's not what this game shows. That's not what behavior shows. They show that all that matters is getting them gens that are getting out. And if you're a survivor that died, even if you did loop the killer for a long time, you still are garbage. At least that's how I feel behavior makes it feel for survivors. And when it comes to killers, you have these killers that are low tier that have to run these meta perks that really have to. That's the problem. They have to run these meta perks to have a chance. They have to tunnel to win. They have to slug sometimes to win. It's like you could help the survivors by buffing the killers, and you could help the killers by buffing the survivors. It's win-win. And instead of making things base kit, all you have to do is give more knowledge to survivors and make the difference between solo queue and Swifts way less. And for killers, all you gotta do is bring those low tier killers and bring them up. It's so simple. Why are we making things way more complicated than they need to be? You know, like, don't get me wrong, I'm probably missing some things 100%, but it's just like, why are we doing this? That's honestly how I feel. It's just, why are we doing all this when it's so obvious what needs to be done? To put this all down into points, here's how I feel. Survivors, they need to make the difference between Survivor with friends and solo queue less. Add proximity chat. Like I said, add the stuff to where, like, when someone's on hook and the killers around them, it showed that bar filling up. Perfect. Do that stuff for for survivors. Show them a tutorial where they can legitimately, like, for real, they can see what the killers can do. And what I mean by that is, let's say you click on the killer, and instead of it just being this long text, show them videos of the killer using their power. show them all their ability through video, maybe a better description. They can even show them ways to counter that killer. Like if you put in Legion, right? Let's say you're Survivor and you click on Legion and it would like, they have like a thing that says counters. Perfect. Just where it says counters and it says don't heal. And it tells you why. You may not want to heal against Legion because that's really all he can do is injure you. That's it. His power allows him to injure you. So you stay injured, his power is useless and he's just an M1 killer. Boom. You're now, with just that, you're giving survivors an idea on how to deal with a killer. So yeah, to me, that's what survivors need. Killer, as I said, bring those low tier killers up, bring those high tier killers down. Because it really does suck that a lot of the points that survivors make only work towards high tier killers. I would much prefer if a survivor makes a point, it's not like, oh, they're right, but it's only it only works with about 5 killers. No, I want them to be able to make a point, and it's like, okay, this is a problem, and it's with all the killers. Like, I don't know. That's about all I have to say for this video. I know it's a new type of video, but I really do enjoy this game. I said they added Springtrap, and I'm learning how to play him on controller, which is a lot harder than I thought, but I enjoy it, and I hate the direction this game's going, and I am very much close to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to play anymore, because every time there's a new update, I know there's going to be a nerf to killer and there's going to be a buff to survivor. It's like, why do I want to play a game if it's so obviously going downhill? I'm not going to want to play that game. So I hope Behavior does the right thing. I don't think they are, sadly. They seem to keep on going down this bad path. Like, I don't know if y'all seen, they did a survey where it was like, why do people quit the most? And it was like, the top reasons were all slugging, tunneling, camping. It was those. But then when you look at the survey that they did, that they got this from, there was almost no killer ones. So it was like they didn't have a choice for killer to be like, I don't like bully squads, meaning like I don't like going against bullies. That's what made me quit. Or I feel like survivors are too strong. Like they didn't have any killer reasons on why they quit, or they didn't have a lot. Compared to the survivor one, there was not a lot. Another thing was the map votes. I don't know if y'all seen, but in the recent one, they did a thing where it was talking about the maps, like what do you guys their favorite maps? Now, I don't know if this is true, because I thought this myself, so I don't know how true it is. But when I hear them talk about that, the first thing I think of is this game is 4 survivors for 1 killer. Did they make sure to include that into their like thing, like 4 survivors for 1 killer? So 1 killer vote, is 1 killer vote equal to 4 survivor votes, or is it really just regular? So it's 4 survivors to 1 killer. If that's the case, then it kind of just doesn't make sense. The votes just are null and void in my opinion. And then you have the palette update, putting 10, if I'm not mistaken, 10 to 15 more pallets in about 65% of the maps is crazy, because you know who that hurts? The lower tier killers. Nurse don't care about pallets. Blight don't care about pallets. Y'all know Kaneki don't care about pallets. Spirit doesn't care about pallets. So who did this hurt? Low tier killers. Once again, it just seems like they're on a trajectory, that's a big word for me, oh my god, trajectory, where it's just make killer harder to play and make survivor easier to play, but in the worst ways possible, in my opinion. That's all I have for y'all today. I know this is a different video, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be bad quality. I'm sorry, I don't have any notes. I'm really just speaking off of the top of my head, so y'all can probably tell by that. But let me know, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Survivor mains, please let me know. Killer mains, please let me know. I'll try to have conversation with everybody that talks, all right? But as always, if you liked, leave a like. If you disliked, please leave a dislike. If you have any way I can improve my content, please let me know down in the comment section below. And I'll see all you lovely people on the flip side. Peace out. Inside lane, missing exits, glued to the pavement. Between the lines, I'll keep my gaze straight ahead as the last stop flies by.